name's Jan Hutchinson. I've been the CE at Techtorium, and I've been at Techtorium for about 12 years. It was started by Patrick, who is in the audience here, as a way to get young people ready for employment. So we have been very proudly vocational for the last you know, however many years that we've been open now, 16 years now. So we are a private training establishment, and as Masoud said, we're a category 1. Now that means quite a lot to us. It means that NZQA really helps us when we want to you know, apply for new courses and things like that. Being in a technology area, we do have to make sure our courses are fit for purpose and fit for our employers. So we are funded by the government in New Zealand as well, and they fund us to help support the economic goals that they have for New Zealand. So they're funding us to fill the skill shortage gaps in IT, and if you go onto the immigration website, it looks a little bit like this. So what we've got there is just a whole list of something like 40 different roles around New Zealand that we're looking for staff in various companies. So we really do try to work to the skill shortage list. So we change our programs from time to time to make sure we're meeting what the need is. The great side of that for us, of course, is it means that we're getting our students into employment, which is really important, because as a vocational provider, there's no point doing it if we're not getting them into work. And the government very, very generously invests $6 billion into the tertiary budget every year, but apparently we have to share it with other people, so we don't get the whole thing. So how do we address the skill shortage in New Zealand to meet the targets set by the government? And do we just teach tech? You know, is it just about gaining a qualification? So I want to talk tonight about our innovative learning environment, how we got here with us, and our response to COVID. And I only have 7 minutes to give you our spin on this, so I'll talk really fast. And so I can see Mike's clicking the slides through. So firstly, I totally agree with you, Babak, we need to teach more than just our tech skills. We need to be teaching soft skills. And so things like time management, networking, teamwork, creative thinking, conflict resolution has to be built into our curriculum. It's no longer the hidden curriculum that people have been talking about for decades. You know, this needs to be quite a deliberate part of education. So if I go click, well done. Careers New Zealand has identified 7 employability skills that employers are looking for across all industries. So I won't go through them one at a time with you, but you can have a look. I'll pick some of them out. Positive attitude, self-management, and we, you know, our students come to us from secondary school usually, and sometimes they don't have great self-management skills. One thing that we need to do is help them with that. A willingness to learn, and we call that being humble. That's about starting at the bottom and working your way up, and taking advice and learning. And then obviously thinking skills, problem solving, as previously mentioned, and also resilience. Because you can see what's happened to us right now around the world. We need resilience to keep moving forward. Click. So I want to talk to you about a brief history for us. So in 2011, Christchurch had some fairly significant, devastating earthquakes, and it prompted a review of our disaster recovery plan. And I can talk to that a little bit as well. Our significant stakeholders in Wellington, our funders, and maybe even our next speaker, Garry, said as a tertiary sector, we needed to make a plan to get back on our feet very quickly after a natural disaster. And our disaster recovery plan prior to this saw us assign tasks like finding premises and furniture and computers really quickly if we couldn't get access to our premises, and also a data management plan. So it sounds great in theory, but it felt as though if we were forced into the situation to use our disaster recovery plan, we'd be camping out until things got sorted. And I think if you look at some of the educational providers throughout the COVID experience, this is exactly how it's been for them. So they've had to make do until things get back to normal. And what we were looking for was a solution that would be more business as usual. Click. So what did we do to implement innovative learning? What we did, innovative learning was part of the disaster recovery plan because we needed to be able to operate as an educational institution outside of our premises. And we needed to be students to be able to cope with those changes and roll with that. So we looked at, in those days, what was called a modern learning environment. First thing we had to do was get a delivery team, our academic delivery team, on board and do some research and visit some modern learning secondary schools. And the reason I say secondary schools was because there were no tertiary institutions at that point who were actually delivering their curriculum using a modern learning environment. Now I've jumped between modern and innovative. Modern's now not modern, it's old-fashioned, and so now we're calling it an innovative learning environment, and it has a slightly different meaning. So we needed to modify our language. We needed to make sure that our teaching spaces were not teaching spaces, that they were learning spaces. So it was student-centric. We needed to modify the spaces and make them more mobile to provide different settings for the activities that we were doing. And we needed to change our curriculum to more project-based. And exactly what Babak was talking about taking his engineering students and doing something practical with what they learned. And this is exactly what we've been creating in our environment as well. So making sure that projects are available for students to be doing either on their own or collaboratively, researching, critical thinking, self-management and reflecting, as was said by Careers NZ. So we needed to create rules as well around how long a trainer could talk. So I'm breaking the rules here right now because trainers were not allowed to talk for very long before they actually had to get students doing something. And it was a really interesting transition for many of our students who were passive learners, who were used to sitting there, having their technical skills delivered to them on a plate and not really actually engage in that process. But we knew in order for them to be able to make that jump into employment, they needed those practical skills as well. So we always looked for opportunities to let the students run the show as well, which was pretty interesting. And the last one, which was very important, was that students needed their own devices. So we wanted to make employability, adaptability, social skills part of our curriculum and attaching learning to reality, so keeping it real. So learning for a clear purpose and using all the resources available to support it, not just a teacher and a textbook. And students as consumers nowadays will not do things without a clear purpose and outcome that benefits them. They demand a point to what they are learning, and rightly so. They want it to be meaningful, and we need to make that happen. So in order for us to make it meaningful, it will mean the students can connect it to what they're doing when they get into employment. So success in education is being measured by course outcomes up until then. They got a qualification, yay, but that's only one part of our role as an educator. So the full measure is, did the graduate get into employment? And this is where, for us, an innovative learning environment came in. Education is about creating the environment that enables students to investigate and filter and gain a deeper understanding and apply this knowledge to solve problems and challenges. According to Education Central, the principles of innovative learning environment are, click, on the page in front of you. So it's about students being able to manage their way through and navigate their way through obstacles and challenges and problems and changes in their environment, and still be able to keep moving forward with some momentum without being blindsided by it. And I have to say, I'm very proud of our team at Techtorium, and I'm extremely proud of our students, because we moved into lockdown without any issues whatsoever. It was incredibly smooth, and I'm very grateful for that. So in a tertiary setting, making the environment the students experience innovative is more important because it's connected directly to the world of work. So what are we doing right now, and what lessons did we learn from the situation we find ourselves in right now. So the concept of a hidden curriculum has been around for decades, and the belief that there are unintentional side effects of attending an educational institution. So in other words, it means that there are things that they learn accidentally. And what we needed to do is make sure that nothing was accidental, everything was planned, and everything was put in there for a reason. So in one way, the things students accidentally learned, like the transmission of norms or values and beliefs and other influences, they were exposed to as students for accidental. So what we did is we took them out of the cupboard. They're now an intentional part of our students' education. So click to the next slide. So we looked at our brief history, investigating modern learning, implementing it, being told by NZQA that, you know, they were happy with how we were going with this. So in 2017, we started our Adobe Connect classes, which meant that our students were at home and they were connecting into their lessons, the trainers were teaching them, and for most of our students, that was 1 or 2 days a week. The other thing we did in 2017 as part of our risk plan was to make sure that all the staff also had laptops. So as we retired the old workstations and the desktops, they were being replaced with laptops as well. And then in 2018, we increased the number of Adobe Connect classes. If we cut through to 2020, we moved from Adobe Connect to Zoom, and all staff and students were Zoom capable with remote access to servers. And it couldn't have happened at a better time because, of course, in March, we were in lockdown. So one of the things that I would have to say, because I'm going to show you some slides after this that we'll go through, not yet, Mike, is that the innovative learning environment, the switch to the innovative learning environment, how we work with our students to cope with change and to innovate and problem solve, made the transition to working from home and learning from home a whole lot easier. So I have to say, you know, that the planets lined up, it was serendipitous, and it's been an exciting time. So one of the things I would like to tell you as well that has come out of COVID, and what we've done across the time we were in lockdown, is keeping our students engaged. And some of the lessons that we learned and some of the things that we put into place have actually been so successful, we're keeping them. So if you can just click onto the next slide for me, Mike. So here are some of the activities our student engagement team put together. Now, I'm not going to go through individually all of these, you can have a read, but masterclasses on cloud technologies, which meant any student could come into this, not just a cloud engineer at level 7. Employability hacks. Our students created a Minecraft server and they played Minecraft throughout the holidays, and various other things they did as well. We were also able to connect individually with our students using Zoom or Teams to make sure that they were okay and to see if they needed anything. So throughout the whole time, our students were connected. And the great thing was we never lost students from when we went into lockdown to when we came back on site. And I have to tell you now, we're not on site full time. Our students come in maybe 3 days a week. Our staff come in maybe 3 days a week. The rest of it, we work from home. And it's been working really well. We're enjoying it. So I'm just gonna finish with some slides for you to have a look at some of the activities we've done. That's creating the space. Some of our students collaborating, presenting, to each other, getting them outside of the classroom and doing some cool stuff, workshops, creating spaces. This was one of the activities they did. Here's some examples: Pink Shirt Day, Techercise, that's one of our student engagement people, and a tech cafe. So, oh, I don't know quite what happened to that slide, but the over 90% rule, which is 90-90-90, means that at least 90% of our students need to be, when they finish with us, need to be in higher level education or they need to be in employment. 90+% of our students are in attendance in their class, and 90+% of our students are achieving assessments first time through. And those statistics are good, and they have always been good, but never as good as they are now. And we really do put that down to our innovative learning environment. So please, if there are any questions you would like to ask, feel free. Mike, you can click again. I think that might be it. And that's all from me. So thank you for listening.